Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 238 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. It's another wonderful episode with my wonderful colleague, Kevin A. Gregg, talking about federal litigation updates on BIA, federal law, that kind of stuff. Talking about federal law, the big news is the potential Roe v. Wade abrogation of that case law. We'll see if that's the truth. We're not going to talk about that in this because it's not particularly immigration related, but it just popped in my head to mention that. Now, before we start, I want to thank everyone who's listening and make sure you check out the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine. Go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. There's 4 issues. Issue 5 is probably coming out in like 60 days or so. We got a lot of work to do to prep that up, a lot of follow-ups I got to do with people, but so much information. It's going to increase your law practice. You're going to make more money, have more case types, get more clients just by reading this magazine. It's magical and it's free. Just check it out and support the sponsors, in particular DACA-Wise, who's been the sponsor of my show, Kevin's show, the magazine. They're really on top of it. And Kevin's show obviously is I'm blanking on your show name.
Immigration Review.
Yeah, Immigration Review. I knew when you were saying it.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Yeah, and you've been beating my podcast in the rankings, is popping up first on everywhere. So those.
How do you know about the rankings? I can't even find the rankings. Where do you find the rankings?
There's no rankings. I do a search for immigration and podcasts, like in the iTunes and the other thing, Spotify, and it just shows whoever comes up first means like they're getting more views. And your interviews are killing it, which means you're probably gonna be switching formats pretty soon and doing
No
this.
No way. Yeah, I have been. Every time I do an interview, I'm like, I'm stepping into John's realm. Just a little. I wasn't gonna do another interview, but the Hidden Dream reached out to me, and actually, I promised them that I'd talk to you about that. They would be interested, I think, in talking to you too. It really is a fascinating organization. We can talk off after this, but
Sure.
They're visa dreamers. They don't fall under DACA, but at the same time, when they turn 21, they're like H4s and stuff like that. They have no path. I'm sure you know about this issue, and these very impressive college and high school students created a whole organization to deal with it, and it's really impressive no matter how you fall on the issue.
Definitely. So that's important. It definitely is. Definitely, I'd like to talk with them, at least even behind the scenes, to see how we can help. But do you think DACAWise.com is for help in supporting this show? Go to DACAWise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast. You get 10% off your annual plan. They always have incredible new stuff coming on. Probably going to interview one of the co-founders. I do it kind of quarterly. I've been late on the interview to just kind of see what kind of updates they have, especially for existing users, so they know what kind of new processes, things that they use, and get stuff like that. So check it out. And if you're interested in learning about immigration law, you're a new attorney field. A lot of people are paralegals, become lawyers. A lot of people are lawyers from the fields coming to immigration law, want to learn about it. I have a course to get you up and running. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Best course out there, I could guarantee that. And just hit me up and we'll take it from there. All right, Kevin. So what is going on? There's more stuff I got to plug, but I always forget. And that it's like you follow the Instagram page, follow the Facebook page, follow the LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Instagram is probably the best ones for Toolbox. You get a lot of stuff there. And you can catch clips of Kevin there. So if you can't listen to the whole thing, you break down the top cases and have a 5-minute clip right there to listen to the whole half hour here. I feel like I'm talking really fast, so I'll try to slow it down. Kevin, how are you doing? And what's going on in the immigration federal space?
I'm doing good. I just got off my own 3.5-hour prep for an individual hearing with a client. That's for tomorrow. That was not the first prep, and so just been talking. I feel like for hours.
What kind of case is it? A removal or asylum hearing?
It's a removal case. But it's got its issues, as so many of our cases do. But as is so often the case, I believe we have the right argument. Awesome. And actually, I just realized that we did it so fast that I don't have my good podcast mic plugged in. Am I coming in clear, or should
It's a little bit different. I could pause the recording if you want to put it in, or could you do it?
We can keep going. They can see what it's like with the
behind the scenes. Yeah. See, I just use my Apple microphone. It could be better, and I can get a whole set, but the thing
should be fine now, right?
Oh wow, yeah, it came radio all of a sudden. Yeah, hello.
Right. Yeah, it's real easy. I got the setup here, so it's all good. Anyway,
I do this setup. Sometimes the mic doesn't work, sometimes it does, and sometimes it picks up all this scratchy noise. I'm like, you know what, this Mac computer picks up this, so it's good enough, but I got to take it next level, more professional about it. But all right, so what's going on in the cases? What are we in for today?
Well, when I come on your show, I try to get some of the better ones from the month, some of the ones where the non-citizen has some sort of a victory. And the two prominent ones from the last month are both from the BIA, which I could not have said for the last prior administration. I could never have told you that there were two positive. Seriously, I think there was like one or two in 4 years, and certainly not two in a month. But there are, and they're both in the crimmigration realm. And the first is matter of Dingus. Oh, of course, I talked about all these in depth on the podcast, and so I don't do that here. But matter of Dingus is about what happens when a conviction gets changed. In this case, Miss Dingus from the United Kingdom actually had a conviction for essentially distributing or dealing in meth, I believe. I believe it was methamphetamine. Either way, it was a bad drug. And eventually in Virginia, the conviction was amended and to say that she was distributing Salvinorin A, which nobody seems to know what it is, but that is what she was convicted of doing it. And the court did it non pro tunc, which means from the beginning, which essentially means that she never had the conviction for distributing methamphetamine or whatever else it was. It was Salvinorin A from the beginning. And that's important because Salvinorin A is not federally controlled, which means that her conviction is not a controlled substance offense. It's not a drug trafficking aggravated felony because Salvinorin A is not controlled. And this whole decision by the board was about, well, originally it was for methamphetamine. Do we give credit to this change? And the board said yes. And in doing so, the board solidified the more difficult for non-citizen case law of matter of Thomas and Thompson, matter of Pickering. Matter of Thomas and Thompson was Attorney General Barr's big decision 3 years ago, where they said all these other BIA decisions about what happens with amended convictions, I don't care about them. They're not good law anymore. Only matter of Pickering does. And that means that you only give credit to an amended or vacated sentence if it was done substantively or for procedural, for something that makes the conviction itself invalid. But if it was done for for rehabilitative purposes or for purely immigration purposes, then the immigration courts aren't going to give it effect. Even if a state is saying we don't recognize this person as having a conviction anymore, unless it's done for the right reasons. Pickering and Thomas and Thompson say we don't care. And in matter of Dingus, they said this is one of the ones that actually we do care. A non-pro-tunc order, at least in Virginia. And the board is saying that it does require a analysis of how the state treats, in this case, non-pro-tunc changes. But this is one of those cases. This is a substantive change based on what the conviction should have been. And that's going to count. And it meant all the difference for Ms. Dingus's removability and her eligibility for immigration relief. So, it's a great case to see if you're working in the world of crimmigration. I don't love how it implicitly solidifies matter of Thomas and Thompson, which I don't believe was necessarily required. Attorney General Barr decided to vacate 3 published BIA decisions in Thomas and Thompson. Attorney General Garland could agree with the Board of Immigration Appeals and say that actually there are all these other rules, but he hasn't yet. Either way, a little breathing room for amending convictions and a path forward for non-citizens who need their convictions amended based on, for example, some substantive flaw in the original conviction.
What a game changer for that person, Dingus, the foreign national in this case. So they had the money to hire a lawyer to undo the original criminal court case, and then they had the lawyer and the money and the time to do a BIA appeal, and it worked.
Well, that's the unwritten part of it. And if you think that's crazy, wait till I get to the next case, matter of Dang. But no, that's right. That's the terrible part of this is so much of this good law that I like to talk about in all of the cases almost I talk about on the podcast are at the circuit level, and it costs a fortune to get to the circuit, and it necessarily means that you've lost twice. Yeah. So it really is, how many Miss Dinguses, how many other non-citizens are out there who just didn't have the money to get to the circuit and to get a decision about how the law is supposed to be. Mr. Dang is even better with that, though. Matter of Dang is about crimes of domestic violence. The INA section.
Dingus and Dang.
Dingus and Dang, yeah. Okay. Different the UK and Vietnam, though. Very, very different non-citizens. But so Mr. Dingus, Mr. Dang, now you got me confused. It's about INA section 237A2EI removability, the crime of domestic violence. And it's not talked about very much, but before I get to what they held, Mr. Dang was found removable under this provision, but it doesn't bar him. He was a green card holder. It doesn't bar him from getting LPR cancellation. The only thing that is a per se bar, and don't say the only thing, but per the statute, is an aggravated felony. And it wasn't an aggravated felony. So the immigration judge granted him LPR adjustment. So he got to keep his green card. And he still appealed, even though DHS didn't appeal. And even though by appealing, the BIA could have possibly said, you know what, the IJ was wrong to even give you LPR cancellation. Mr. Dang risked it all and spent all that money, and he won. Mr. Dang, his Louisiana crime is not a crime of domestic violence, and it's an important case because the BIA clarified something that has been a bit murkier than it should have been, and that is, in order for a conviction to be a crime of domestic violence, it has to be a crime of violence, as defined at 18 U.S.C. section 16A. It has to meet that aggravated felony definition. Now, it doesn't have the term of imprisonment, just to be completely clear, and we don't provide legal advice on these podcasts, but it has to meet that same substantive definition as the aggravated felony crime of violence. And so that means all of this case law from the Supreme Court over the last decade about what is a crime of violence, what is not, it all gets incorporated into the crime of domestic violence. And really, matter of Dang is about whether or not this Supreme Court case, US v. Castleman, which involved domestic violence in a different context, whether that gave a different standard for removability crimes of domestic violence, because Castleman did involve domestic violence, just not in an immigration context. And the BIA said no. Now, Castleman is not about immigration. And the immigration domestic violence statute expressly references section 18 U.S.C. 16A. So we don't care about Castleman. We only care about Stokeling, Johnson, and these other violent felony Supreme Court decisions. And so I'm not going to get into all of the specifics there. I get into it on the podcast, but it is a good decision for non-citizens. And it really clarifies that a crime of domestic violence is governed by the aggravated felony crime of violence definition. And, you know, honestly, there was a time where that wasn't the best ruling, but with the DiMaia v. Sessions decision, or the Sessions v. DiMaia decision from a couple of years ago, where the Supreme Court found unconstitutional 18 U.S.C. section 16B, that leaves only 16A for all of this. And 16A is much narrower than 16B. So with all of these things that have been stacking up over time, for the board to correctly issue a decision like matter of Dang is potentially far-reaching for non-citizens. It's complicated. I hope that was clear enough in 5 seconds.
For California practitioners, like I had to learn this because the case had a marriage adjustment case pending for interview. The couple got in a fight, and the woman attacks her husband with a weapon. And then I was like, well, and they arrested her for a misdemeanor. And there was some BIA case in California that says if it's even misdemeanor domestic violence, but there's like weapon involved, it automatically becomes removable offense. I'm not sure if it was conviction or even if it's just an arrest, they can tell there's something like that. Does that have anything to do with this stuff, or just throwing it out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I don't know about all of that. You know, I'm sure that there might be a bit more narrow there. With anything with immigration, it's statute specific. Yes, a misdemeanor can be an aggravated felony if it has at least a term of imprisonment of at least a year. So in California, for example, it couldn't be anymore because now California has the rule where you can't get sentenced to at least a year for a misdemeanor. Yeah. But a misdemeanor, you don't have that 1 year for crimes of domestic violence. So everything you just said, a misdemeanor crime with a domestic violence component, yeah, that could be a crime of domestic violence removability provision. But what matter of Dang is saying is that the statute would have to require a sufficient use of force. And it's not necessarily what the individual actually did. It's what the least amount of force necessary was. In matter of Dang, for example, there was case law for this statute where someone could be convicted of it just by doing offensive touching, not violent force, just touching them. Wow. Quite frankly, I didn't get into it on the podcast, but and doing something sexual to themselves while touching another person, which is very offensive, but it's not violent. And
Yeah.
it's not physical force. And so that's one of the reasons that this specific Louisiana statute is not a crime of domestic violence and is not a crime of violence. And so it's very statute specific. That's what Matter of Dang is making clear. And the legal standard is 16A.
Mhm.
That's what's important.
Real cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. Definitely difficult stuff, complicated stuff.
I'm sorry for throwing the crimmigration at you just like this, but there wasn't really much other good this month, except I got to talk about Rodriguez v. Garland at the end of it, because that's the good decision about deficient notices to appear and in absentia removal orders. And the Fifth Circuit was the first circuit to say, essentially, if the notice to appear didn't have the date and time and they were ordered removed because they didn't show up to their hearing, then the case needs to be reopened. Now they came up with a decision after that that makes that a bit murkier, but Rodriguez was a big deal. And the Ninth Circuit.
Where's the Fifth Circuit again? Remind us and me where the Fifth Circuit is.
Texas, Louisiana, and there's a third, Mississippi. Okay. And so it's besides, I mean, Texas, it's the border states. There are so many in absentia removal orders, and with the Ninth Circuit issuing the same decision essentially in Singh, it's all of the border states. Probably, I don't know, 75% of the in absentia removal orders since 97 probably came from the Ninth or the Fifth Circuit. And both of those circuits have issued decisions now that essentially say they need to be reopened if the NTA was deficient. It's humongous. And so maybe not unsurprisingly, a lot of the Fifth Circuit judges wanted to go en banc and overturn their Rodriguez decision, but they lost this month. And in so losing, there was a concurrence saying why the first Rodriguez was right and why it's good law. And they use some really strong language. So anybody making these kinds of motions and trying to expand it in other circuits should look at the Fifth Circuit's Rodriguez decision in April 2022, pushing down the en banc attempt. And they make very clear why the BIA's contrary decision in matter of La Para, the only decision anywhere that is contrary to the Fifth and the Ninth Circuit, why matter of La Para is wrong, and why matter of La Para should not get any deference under Chevron. So it's really a roadmap for trying to extend these decisions in other circuits and not following matter of La Para. No other circuit has spoken yet, except the Fifth and the Ninth, which are both favorable for non-citizens.
Wonderful.
So that's what's up.
So what's going on with you? You're obviously busy going to court. You said you're prepping for a case tomorrow. Is that going to be in San Diego?
Yeah, it's actually in Orlando. But the judge decided last week that they wanted to do it via WebEx, so it doesn't matter where I am.
Is WebEx audio only, or is it video?
It's video. And I'll be doing an in-person one in the Midwest next week, and that one will be flying out for. So it's busy, and busy is good. You know, I saw for you, you posted a big thing on LinkedIn, which I did read. It was cool about, being, I don't know, a bit vulnerable, talking about your early career and how you got into immigration. And
those always get a lot of views on LinkedIn. So
the personal stuff does, but even I often don't read the stuff on LinkedIn, but I saw that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this.
Oh, thank you.
See what John's saying.
Just talking about how I got into immigration, and EB-1A extraordinability was like the case. It's like a sexy case. You're like, oh wow, this is like cool kind of thing. Yeah. And kind of luckily they're relatively easy cases because the people were so famous that like they're all approved. But one thing about dealing with famous people is a lot of them could have like attitudes, or too busy, or they're I can't say all this stuff online, but like sometimes like go talk to my agent or go put my name in Google and look it up. Like, no, I got to talk with you, like we got to see what's going on in your case and all that. But it opened up my eyes to the immigrant world. And now it's like, EB-1A is not a primary focus on myself, but like just then you realize immigrants are usually always fascinating. It's like always interesting people to talk with. And that's what got me into immigration law. And it's funny, I'm doing this series now on EB-1A. I'm doing a weekly seminar for potential clients. It's really a marketing thing. So I opened up every Friday, 10:30 Pacific for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to break down the EB-1A program. And everyone who registered for the program this week were immigration lawyers. So the whole thing's going to be it's going to be a CLE, essentially, a 30-minute CLE. But hey, if you are interested in watching this, just email me. I'll add you to registration. The I'm using this like software, it's a webinar software, and there's a glitch, so I haven't sent out the registration to people who asked yet because I'm waiting for the company to fix the glitch up. But we're gonna do that. But we're gonna do a lot of these seminars, talk about immigration, so people know the details and get to know me better from it. Potential clients, obviously, but immigration lawyers will come in too. Y'all listen to this podcast, so you know my personality and my skills, anyways, by now.
It's great, and also deeper. I see a lot of this on LinkedIn too. We see people in the middle of their career. You're getting pretty successful now. Like people see that, and they don't see everything before that. All of the uncertainty, mistakes, the being just unsure of everything. The path is. I've dealt with this myself when I was early on, and even sometimes now. You see people who you want to be like, and you don't know because no one ever talks about their own uncertainty. It seems like everybody knows what's up, and so it's good when people are being honest about their path, and I think it makes people feel good. So I'm glad that you shared things like that, and I'm sure other people do too, people younger than me.
Yeah, I mean, in immigration, is an interesting spot too because they don't talk about in law school. Essentially, immigration lawyers are like the ugly stepchild that are broke usually, and it's like loser kind of lawyer. But it's like, dude, I was going to walk with the great immigration this morning. I found out it's a neighbor of mine, doing it for a lot of years. I went for a walk, and it's like, dude, this is like the best kept secret. It's like the best area of law. If you do it right, you make money. It's cool. You have great clients, but like everyone wants to go to corporate law and work like a dog and get paid essentially $10 an hour, the amount of work they have to do. But it's like, dude, immigration is the best. It's the best kept secret in law.
I love it. I came back to it in part because I thought it was so fascinating, and also in part because Donald Trump won the election in 2016. But working like a dog. Before we go, I just find it amusing. When we do these, I have my podcast outline open just in case I need to, look to the facts. My podcast outline, which is every case I've ever summarized, as I sit here right now, is currently 1,084 pages and 470,000 words.
Wow. Just slow your computer down, open up that file with all those words and pages. Like, does everything slow down all of a sudden?
No, it's all good. I mean, it's not even close to as big as like a 3-page PDF with pictures.
Oh,
but it is a slower Word document than some other ones. But to me at this point, it's the best research tool I have because I mean Westlaw. I use it then I go to Westlaw, but that's great. It's control file. Like did I talk about something in July 2021? I think I talked about something over the summer about Salvadoran women or something. Just control find.
Yeah. And have you made that into something that other people could access? Have you organized it yet or still?
No, I refuse because it is so raw. But I'm still in the process of trying to get transcripts done with the Kurzban law firm. We're creating a website, and it's a slow process, but we're going to make transcripts available for purchase eventually. And hopefully there's an interest, and hopefully it helps.
Cool.
And I intend to always have the podcast for free. So, because I enjoy doing it and it helps me.
Definitely. I was talking with a gentleman today, and I was like, when you teach immigration law, you talk about it, you do CLE courses, you talk at ALA, you write blogs. It makes you a better lawyer because you're forced to like research, make sure you know what you're talking about. And a lot of us like hear stuff and know it's like, oh, that's one of the rules, but you don't know where it says it. You got to check so you don't look down. You got to get the source, and it makes you a much better lawyer. So like there was like one of the reasons I taught at law schools was because of the prestige. I'm like, oh, that's good. But once I started teaching, I'm like, oh, damn, I got to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like 10 times more because these kids are asking me questions. Students are asking me questions. I got to know what I'm talking about. So that forced me to be a better lawyer and know the immigration law better.
And absolutely. And then also with removability defense and appeals writing, like the kind of stuff I usually do, I would be so anxious and stressed because I'd read cases casually as they came out. I wouldn't read all the circuits like I do now every week. But then in 3 months time, I'd be like, that did nothing for me. I've forgotten it. I've forgotten the case name. I have nothing. And so now I have every case bulleted on the Kurzban website that I go to multiple times a week, and that any attorney can. It's free. Yeah. But if nothing else, that it can organize all these cases, and so I'm not stressed out all the time about forgetting a case. If nothing else, And I know that Ira Kurzban, I know he's got a similar thing. He's working on his book right now, and it's there. There has to be a way to organize all these cases because there's so much. And Ira is doing much more than cases. He's doing all the regs, all the changes, all the guidance, and all the district court decisions. He's a maniac.
I've tried doing that, the partial of that. It's been hard. I have to give up.
He's a maniac. It's insane. It's insane. He's insane. We love him, but having his book, having this website just for me with the petitions for review, I mean, it makes me more sane because at least I know I'm not forgetting these things and it's not wasted.
Good stuff. Well, keep us posted when that comes online. Thank you so much for coming in. Check out the Immigration North Toolbox magazine. I think we're going to have an article in this one from Kevin or associate. We'll follow up. I've been late on following up with contributors, but download it. Go to immigrationnorthtoolbox.com/magazine to download the magazine. It's read it. You can read it on the site or download it. And also check out Immigration Review Podcast, #1 immigration podcast this month. And so it well deserved. A lot of homework goes into it, so it deserves it to be up there. All right, thanks a lot, Kevin. I'll talk soon.
Thank you, John. Talk to you in a month.
Definitely.